Welcome to Share Views, brought to you by London South East, that's lse.co.uk. I'm joined by two gentlemen from Independent Oil and Gas, Andrew Hockey and Mark Routh. How are you today, gentlemen?
Very well, thank you, Zach. Good morning.
I take it you've arrived hot foot from the London Stock Exchange with your news, your RNS today. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, we submitted an RNS this morning because we've sent the field development plan for the Blythe Elgood hub to the Oil and Gas Authority today for submission and consideration.
And what does that mean in plain English to somebody who's not in the oil business?
Well, before you can develop an oil and gas field, you have to submit a plan to the government, which they have to approve, and they have to check that it's doing the things that is going to maximise recovery from the fields, and it's done in an environmentally proper way and a technically competent way, and there's a lot of work that goes behind that. So we're very pleased to have achieved that significant milestone, and that allows us to progress all the developments and get the funding organised as well.
Right, so this is basically a key stage in the development of any oil and gas company, is that right?
That's right. It's a very exciting time for the company, Zach, because we're in a new phase of growth here. In the last year or so, we've added on to our gas portfolio 50% of the Blythe field, and also completed the purchase of what we call the Vulcan Satellites. That's really quite an important increase in our resource base, from 44 billion cubic feet of gas to around 490 cubic feet of gas. So it really is an exciting time for the company in terms of addition to our contingent resource base and moving things forward.
Right, and again, from the perspective of somebody who's not an expert in this area, 34.3 billion cubic feet sounds like quite a lot. Will this make Independent Oil and Gas a major company, a medium company? Where are we on the scale there?
It will certainly put us on the journey to first gas. It's a relatively limited part of our portfolio, 34 BCF. It's actually about 10%, less than 10% of our current portfolio, the bulk of which comes to around 380 BCF in Blythe, Elgood and what we call the Vulcan Satellites. We also have a very exciting appraisal opportunity at the Harvey Prospect, which is another 113 billion cubic feet. So it doesn't turn us into ExxonMobil, no, but it certainly puts us well on the journey to first gas and well on the way to being a major player in the Southern Gas Basin. We're one of the few companies that are actually taking things forward in the Southern Gas Basin in the UK waters at the moment.
Right, so the idea that the North Sea is a spent force in terms of what's under the water is a false one.
It's completely false, yeah. The sum total of resources that we're going to be developing in these dual gas hubs in the southern North Sea is almost 500 billion cubic feet of gas. I think I've been on record at saying that can heat 9 million homes for over a year. So it's significant in terms of what we need to do, and the great thing about our strategy is it's completely aligned with the Oil and Gas Authority, with the maximising economic recovery from the North Sea, but also the tight gas strategy, which the OGA announced recently. Andrew's joined the team because he's recently delivered the Clipper South development, and him joining the Independent Oil and Gas team is an ideal time because the Vulcan Satellites fields will all need stimulation, hydraulic stimulation, because they're tight gas fields which have not flowed at commercial rates hitherto. But with the advent of horizontal drilling and multi-fracture stimulated wells, we can develop these resources cost effectively.
So is that the point, really? I mean, with this, with going back to my point before about the North Sea being seen as past its best, the technology's brought it back into the front line.
It's partly technology, and I think it's partly the spirit of the company. And one of the key things that we're doing is we're recommissioning the Thames Pipeline. The Thames Pipeline is a 24-inch pipeline that runs close to our asset base, our two hubs at Blythe Elgood and the Vulcans, and it runs into the Bacton terminal. It was decommissioned in 2015, but we, as Independent Oil and Gas, are in the process of acquiring the pipeline from the existing operator and recommissioning it, and that will require a lot of engineering work to be done and some integrity tests, what we call intelligent pigging, to make sure that the pipeline has real integrity, and that will open up a new export route in the southern gas basin of the UK coming into Bacton Terminal, where we also intend to purchase the onshore piece of the jigsaw. So not only are we revitalising and giving a home to the gas from our two hubs at Vulcan and at Blythe Elgood, we're also creating a new piece of infrastructure that allows gas to enter the UK market.
Right, so this is you're making a national contribution here.
Indeed, we're on the way to heating those 9 million homes.
Right, and in terms of, I mean, obviously the news here is good. This is a major a milestone for your company. But I mean, in terms of the funding that you're looking for now, where are we in that journey?
Well, on funding, we're talking to a number of different contractors in the supply chain who will be helping us fund the development. Some of them deferring their costs up to 100%, being paid back from the cash flow that we will generate from the produced gas. We're doing things in a cost-effective way. The recommissioning of the Thames Pipeline, for instance, has not been done before, recommissioning a decommissioned pipeline. But building a new pipeline of that size, 60 kilometres to the shore, will take 3 years and cost £100 million plus. Now we can acquire this pipeline and we can recommission it for 10% of that number. So it's cost effectiveness, it's maximising economic recovery, it's delivering gas to the market when it's needed, when maybe imports from Russia or from Middle Eastern LNG is going to be a little more challenging in the future.
Right, and then from where you are now, as far as private investors are concerned, most of the type of people who are watching this interview tend to be rather impatient. What are the timelines that you foresee now as in the progress for your company?
Well, our current target for first gas is the middle of 2019. Obviously, that's subject to how the negotiations go with the supply chain and getting finance in place, but that's what we're targeting, and that's certainly what we've said in the field development plan that we put into the Oil and Gas Authority this morning. We're looking for that to be approved in the early part of next year. There'll be a period which we phase in the developments of Blythe Elgood and the Vulcan Satellites through 2019, and so that's what we're targeting. We're looking at around about 2 years from now for first gas.
Right, and just in terms of the investment opportunity that you presented to the market, do you feel that people have actually cottoned on to the what you're doing and the let's say the scale and the potential that it has?
I think not. I mean, there's a huge amount of work that goes into developing this. We're going to be drilling 9 development wells. We're going to be installing between 4 and 5 platforms. We'll be laying around 70 kilometres of interfield pipelines to connect our gas hubs to the Thames pipeline when it's recommissioned. There's a lot of work to do. There's a huge amount of preparatory work. There's a lot of environmental assessment work going on. And in parallel with that, we're having discussions with financing partners, with banks, with equity providers, with the supply chain. And I can't stress enough the importance of the supply chain. These are major contractors, people who build platforms, people who provide services, people who lay pipelines. These are people who are prepared to participate in our development because they believe in what we're doing. And because we're going to deliver the gas, and it's actually in pretty short order, 2019, in investment terms, private investment terms, they may be impatient, but that is double quick time for any development that we've been involved in. And Andrew and I have been doing this for a long time. We know how to do this stuff. And
finally, just the demand for for what you're producing for the gas. How is that these days? What's the market like?
The market's very good in the UK because since the early 2000s, since the UK stopped being a net importer of gas, a net exporter of gas, we've obviously become an importer of gas. So it's good to deliver indigenous gas to the UK market. It's paid for in pounds, shillings, and pence rather than in dollars. So it's good for the economy, and also it's very helpful in terms of the overall energy mix in the UK. As we move away from coal and oil as the main electricity generators and towards a broader mix with renewables and gas, we're contributing to that. So we see it's very important. It's also great for everyone as investors because gas tends to have lower operating and capital costs associated with developing it. We have reasonably low break-evens, and so we can make a reasonable margin on selling our gas into the market, and so that creates very strong cash flow for us, and therefore a good proposition for the investment community.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Mark Routh and Andrew Hockey from Independent Oil and Gas.
Thank you, Zach.
That's it for today's Share Views, brought to you by London South East. That's lse.co.uk.